Artificial intelligence is really the increase of information and the use of it by us as humans to make our lives easier. And I think that things will ebb and flow as we go forward, as we experiment with what the benefit of AI is, what the dangers of it are, and no doubt we'll make mistakes, and there'll be consequences to those mistakes. But I think as a race, we will continue to hold dear those things that are humanity, which is about compassion, feeling, love, sharing, and creating an environment that brings us, hopefully, in some respects, joy and happiness. I guess entering the workforce for the first time in a full-time capacity in the late 90s meant that I think people probably see me as a bit of a digital native. I didn't know a time when computers weren't part of the work environment, and certain things that certainly my contemporaries would talk about as being alien at that time. And for me, it's just the progression of that. And I certainly feel a little bit out of my depth when I see the younger generations dealing with technology in a better way than I can. But I really just see that as my need to stay up to date and to move with it. Personal professional divide will start to disappear, or will feel like it disappears, because we're going to work differently. And I think that that's a beneficial thing. The compartmentalisation of our lives into professional and personal will start to go as we start to recognise that our professional lives should be as rewarding or part of our personal lives. And that, in my view, when you look to people who seem to be really happy, to some extent they have a merger of those things. They do something that they love, and there's an extension or a continuum of their professional life into their personal life. And so I'm not that concerned about it. I guess being real, talking about things how they are, or saying it how it is. And I think I'm known well for saying it how it is, and some people would go as far as to say whether it's good or bad. Being real is pretty important. Making sure that you are clear and authentic, or I am clear and authentic in the leadership roles, and that I take seriously, as I really do, the responsibility that it is to lead, to be accountable for the outcomes of that, and to be there for other people, with other people, in achieving whatever you're achieving. I think my view on that is that every relationship that you have in the workplace needs to be one that is sought to understand each other. I want nothing more than to be understood for who I am, and then there's a role or a function that I play in an organisation. So I'm interested in people and what makes them tick, why they do the things that they do, what are their experiences that have led them to become that. And when you give them the space to share that with you, to be their whole self in that space, and then to recognise that they have a role and that you have some insight into what might make their behaviours, then you can create that environment where they feel valued as an individual, and then hopefully still see that they have a role that is not connected to them as an individual to some extent, that they need to deliver, whatever that may be. Well, I would argue that we have the opportunity to do that now. And I guess what I'd say to you is, I've never really believed in hierarchy. We should all have the ability to contribute to different aspects of the business, the organisation, the cause, the purpose. But understand that roles and structure in these organisations help them be productive. And so it's having the balance and creating the time to create that input, making it sure that it's heard and considered, but then also having the shared understanding that decisions should be made. They're made in a structure that best facilitates outcomes for an organisation and moving forward. And I think the fluidity of the workforce and the different ways in which we'll work into the future will give some natural attractiveness to different people, to different parts of that ecosystem, if you will.
Yeah.
People won't necessarily understand this, but I'm a caregiver. I'm concerned with people being okay. And so I spend a lot of time internally thinking about how they can be okay. And in doing so, really fulfilling what is my leadership role is to mostly get out of the way and help people perform.
Mm.